Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that will rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there that's pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children that they're keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Okay, I'm going to make this a quick lesson, but let me see. This was posted October the 31st, so Friday. Well, this guy posted it. I'm pretty sure he probably found the video recently. But he's just, uploading the video about what this woman had said, which she said if a man is paying your bill, really if he's spending money on you and taking care of you, that was her ultimate point, then you are his, you belong to him. And women are going to come back into that mindset of you are a possession, as the scriptures say. Not a possession as in like you're a toy or something like that, but a possession as in a man does have ownership over you. That's how it was created to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because women, at the end of the day, you want a man. You want a man to protect you, lead you, guide you. And I'm talking about the women that's in their right mind. I ain't talking about these women that just looking at a man as a a bank account or something, looking at him as money. And even them women, because when they get in the bind or something goes wrong, when life is good for them, but when things go bad for them, they want a man to come save them, to try to get them back into the situation where they can just look at the man for financials. But even, but just going in the natural sense, you want a man to do all these things, but you don't want him to have ownership over you. But a man is going to protect what he owns or what he controls. That's how we operate, So she's just going into that. And I'm going to let her play, and I'm going to get a couple scriptures and close it out. And say this last thing. We all, of course, which I keep, we keep mentioning and bringing it up. And this ain't even just going into the whole benefits thing being cut off or nothing. This just in general, because we know all of this is going to come to pass. But Isaiah 4:1, all those women are going to understand that. As the scriptures say, let us all, 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Being called by thy name, meaning that man has now put his ownership on you, So now he controls you, but you are his responsibility. So a lot of women, they might come across this video, sometime now in the future, whatever the case may be, whether they in the truth or not. You start developing this mindset and understanding that that's how it's supposed to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. Your chances of landing or being with a man of the Lord significantly increases, because ain't no man of the Lord is not gonna take a woman that doesn't understand this. So fair use, fair use, fair use. I'm not using your video to make any money. This is strictly for educational purposes only. Using this to bring out biblical truth. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Y'all listen up and see if you agree with this one.
Ladies, don't fall for that single BS when you're dealing with a man that's funding you. If he's paying your bills and pouring into your business, he's financially taking care of you in some type of way, like really stepping for you, you are his, okay? It doesn't matter if you're in a relationship with him or if you're not. He will test you. He will see if you're out here dealing with other men. And if you tell on yourself, you're going to ruin it for yourself. That's why he's not going to do what he used to do anymore. That's why when you need him to really come through for you, he doesn't come through for you because he feels like you entertaining these other jokers. So therefore, let me step back. It is the way it is, whether you're in a relationship or you're not. If that man is spending his money on you, doing things where he's financially taking care of you, you are his. You're not single. He's single, okay? Not you.
Right. And like she said, if he's, and it's more than just spending money, because like I said, this lesson is going into the men of the Lord. It's not talking about just no average man, we talking about the men of the Lord. So the men of the Lord, true enough, we gonna take care of our women financially, you know. But also too, when I say take care of them, let me clear that up. When I say we're gonna take care of our women financially, we're gonna do what we need to do to make sure you're straight. So that doesn't mean we're gonna pay all your bills and do all that like she's saying. But we gonna help you. We gonna work together because we both in captivity. And as a man, we understand what needs to be done in order to get up out of here. So, you know, we're gonna do what we need to do. But also too, that man is gonna have spiritual insight as well as wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in various things. So not only are we going to be able, because as a man, when you lead and guide and teach a woman, that's a form of love. That's what women don't understand. If a man is not only just spending his resources on you, but if he's willing to teach you, correct you, guide you, that's love. That's love. That's what Yahweh Shai has done unto us. Starting with the men, what's considered the church. The church is considered the men, you know? And I'm going to get the scriptures on this too. But that's what Yahweh Shai did unto us. And that's a form of love. So when we do it to our women, as the scriptures say, if a woman is to learn anything, because she's supposed to be silent in church, and if she wants to learn anything, or if she has questions, she asks her man. She asks her husband. So that means Israelite men are supposed to understand this truth. They're supposed to understand the Bible, you know. But you see, it's only a small percentage. It's only a remnant that's going to truly have some understanding of the scriptures. So those men are the main ones that's the target, you know, that I'm talking about. So as they say, or as I said, a woman who not only have a man financially protecting her or going out the wisdom of this world, but also is feeding her spiritually, you know, taking care of her, leading her and guiding her emotionally, physically, you know, protecting her and all these things. All this a form of love. So yes, you belong to that man. Now this is Sirach 36:24. He that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. And I'm reading the next verse. It says, where no hedge is, there the possession is spoiled. So the hedge is talking about the protection, which protection comes from a man. So where there is no protection from a man, there the possession is spoiled. And the possession being a woman, like it said in verse 24. So if there is no man to guide you, to lead you, women are going to be led down all types of roads and get into all types of trouble. And that trouble doesn't necessarily mean physical harm. It can be just like these women today. 47% of just the so-called black woman alone are single mothers. And that's a part of the heads being spoiled, because these women have been led down paths to deal with men that they never planned on being with. You know, a lot of women got into a situation where they were just randomly having sex with people and wound up having a child. And now they're forced to keep that child. While the man, he either get put on child support or, you know, more likely he get put on child support and he ran off. You know, it says, and he that have no wife will wander up and down mourning. So, like I said, the focus is the possession. I'm going to get the definition of the word possession. And this is on Google. It says the state of having, owning, or controlling something. So, yes, a man has ownership over you. You are his, you belong to him, and he has the right to control you. Most women are always saying, oh, you controlling. Well, how do you want a man to lead you if he doesn't control what's going on in his household? Whether you live under his roof or not, you are a part of his household because you are attached to that man. So how could you want a man to lead you, but then don't want him to control you? It doesn't make sense. And that woman understands that. That's why she said, and she, like I said, she just said financially, but a man of the Lord is going to do way more than that. And a normal man, men in this world, they're going to do more than that too. You know, they'll tell a woman, you know, what to do, what not to do. But I was going more so in the spiritual aspect. So it says ownership, control, hands, keeping, guardianship. You know, we understand to obtain. All right. It says law, visible power or control over something as distinct from lawful ownership, holding or occupancy. Right. And then informal, it says the state of, this is, no, we ain't talking about that. Number 2, it says an item of property, something belonging to one, an asset, you know, a useful or valuable thing, person, or quality. Well, the scriptures talk about women being a helpmeet, you know, that's an asset. So, yeah. So anyways, let's get to Ephesians chapter 5. And I'm going to read it down, starting at verse 22. In the AMP, this is I'm going to read verse 22 in the KJV and AMP. KJV first, Ephesians 5 and 22. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as unto the Lord. And in AMP, it says, wives, be subject to your own husbands as a service to the Lord. And a footnote for that says, the wife to her husband, not to men in general. Right, so to her own husband. You don't submit to other men. You submit to your husband only. Not as inferior to him, meaning not like you're just some subhuman or something like that, nor in violation of her Christian ethics, which means if he telling you to do something that's sinful to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, you don't do that. You have the right to oppose that authority. Like if he's telling you to do something that's unlawful and you know it's unlawful, you know the Lord is not he's not gonna be pleased with you doing that. So that's why I say not in violation to her, you know, and it say Christian, but you know, us following Yahweh Shai, you know. We ain't supposed to women have that right to not do something if it's gonna violate the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord. But it says, but honoring her husband as protector and head of the home, respecting the responsibilities of his position and his accountability to the Most High. So that's what I mean, submit to your husband, because he is your protector. He is your protection, both in his physical world and in the spiritual world. Your husband is the one who's protecting you. Because you are people, what women don't understand and what most people think in this world is they only really need physical protection, but spiritual is even more important. And that's the job of a man. We consider these things all the way around. And when I say we, I mean those are the hopefully elect, us in this truth. You know, men of the world don't really be thinking about that. They're not being taught that. Like it says, protector and head of the home, respecting the responsibility of his position and his accountability to the Most High. So understanding his role and his purpose in serving the Lord, you understand that you respect it. So you do your part and you make sure you respect him and be under him. Verse 23, for the husband is the head of the wife, as Yahweh Shai is the head of the church being the man, himself being the savior of the body. But as the church is subject to Yahweh Shai, so also wives should be subject to their husbands in everything, respecting both their position as protector and their responsibility to the Most High as the head of the house. Husbands, love your wives, seek the highest good for her, and surround her with caring, unselfish love, just as Yahweh Shai also loved the church and gave himself up for her. Right. And he referenced the church as a woman. But like I said, husbands, love your wives. And what does that go into? Us doing our purpose and our role, being the head of the household, being that protector spiritually, physically, emotionally, you know, for women, and actually taking care of them, you know, because we understand that we are stronger in all aspects. We're stronger. So it's things that they're going to need you with, you know, and it also means that you're going to have to stay, you're going to have to stay on top of the game. And, you know, like you're going to have to stay on points, what I'm trying to say, because if you start failing or if you start, you know, I'm not saying getting weak and, you know, you need help or something, but I'm just saying if you start not taking things seriously, like this truth, the ministry, if you get into that point, it's going to reflect in the people that's around you or people that's under you. Especially if you have children, it's going to start to reflect. So we have to stay on point and continually guide the household and lead them. Yahweh Shai did this for us. When he was in the ministry, when he was teaching, doing his ministry, he didn't slack up. He didn't get weak. I mean, when I say weak, I mean, he didn't start slacking, He didn't be like, well, I'll do it later. I don't feel like doing it right now. Because that was going to affect those that was under him, his disciples, and those that were following him. So we have to be on point. Verse 26, so that he might sanctify the church, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word of the Most High. See, he didn't stop. He stayed on point because he was doing it for his, those that was under his authority, us, so that we can be cleansed. It was all for the purpose of us being cleansed and being brought back to Yahweh. So that in turn he might present the church to himself in glorious splendor, without spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she would be wholly set apart for the Most High and blameless. Because Yahweh Shai was thinking about the future. He was always thinking about the future. He knew that by him staying on point and doing what he needed to do, for us, that it was going to translate to us being cleansed and cleaned up. And at the appointed time in the future, we can be reunited, and we can live together in our kingdom, well, in his kingdom, And that's the point we're at now. Getting ready to be together, us, the nation of Israel, Yahweh Shai, for eternity. Verse 28. Even so, husbands should and are morally obligated to love their own wives as being, in a sense, their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself. So you're going to do what you're going to take care of them, Of course, we make sure they eat, make sure they have the things that they need to keep themselves up and take care of themselves. But also, too, physically, spiritually, emotionally, You're gonna seek the best for yourself to try to, if something is bothering you, it might not even be physical, it might be something on your mind. You're gonna try to find something to cope with it or find something to, help you get over it. And it's the same thing with women, as a husband or as her man. Verse 29, for no one ever hated his own body, but instead he nourishes and protects and cherishes it, just as Yahweh Shai does the church. Just like you can go into these scriptures as a man and, read and or listen to the videos, and they, help you battle with what you're dealing with, or, whatever the case may be. You might need some encouragement. We have to be the same way for our women, in all things. That's a part of our accountability or our responsibilities for them. Because we are responsible for our women. If they are our possession, then you are responsible for them. So you have to do your duties as a man, as a husband. But it's all going back to what the woman said. If this man is, like I said, she just said financially. But if this man is doing all these things for you, you belong to him. Verse 30, because we are members, parts of his body. Verse 31, for this reason, a man shall love his father and his mother, and shall be joined and faithfully devoted to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And for that footnote, it says the bond between husband and wife supersedes all other relationships. Which, and you can understand that, because when a man and a woman get together, they emotionally connect. That emotional connection is strong. Just think about with I ain't gonna get it, but when Isaac's mother died, when Sarah died, and he was grieving over his mom, but Rebecca was sent for him, and as soon as she got there, he married her. They went and had sex, and he was comforted. that bond between man and woman is strong. You know, husband and wife is extremely, extremely strong. That emotional bond, and it's meant to be that way. You know, that's why a man, when he do get married, you know, that doesn't mean that he doesn't, like I said, he should leave his father and his mother. That doesn't mean like he don't deal with his family anymore or nothing. But he has an intense bond with the woman that he's married, and he do look at her as something somewhat sort of like himself. Like a man has an obligation to really take care of this woman. You know, it's all love. Verse 32. This and same with a woman too. I mentioned that too. Woman looks at that man when they, you know, and they emotionally bond, you know, as far as physically bond and everything, you know, that bonding is on a whole nother level. Greater than any bond that you can probably feel with other people. That's why the footnote said it, you know, it supersedes it. And it's not talking about like a bond between the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, or anything. It's just, you know, just on earth. That bond, it be extremely strong. Verse 32. This mystery of the two becoming one is great, but I am speaking with reference to the relationship of Yahweh Shai and the church. However, each man among you without exception is to love his wife as his own very own self, with behavior worthy of respect and esteem, also seeking the best for her with an attitude of loving kindness. And the wife must see to it that she respects and delights in her husband, that she notices him and prefers him and treats him with loving concern, treasuring him, honoring him, and holding him dear. So we both got responsibilities. I'm going to end it on this, getting a couple different translations. So in the KJV, verse 33 says, nevertheless, let every one of you particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. I'm going to get the definition of reverence. But certain other translations, CSB, to sum up, each one of you is to love his wife as himself, and the wife is to respect her husband. And that's another thing that woman was talking about too. You know, if that man is doing these things for you, you belong to him. Don't be out here with no other man, because you gonna lose your access to a man that actually would have been right for you. And a lot of women have done that. A lot of women have lost access to the man that they were supposed to be with, or they could have been with. You know, so like I say, NLT. So I say again, every man must love his wife as he loves himself, and a man must respect his wife. And the wife must respect her husband. But even down here, where is the ASV? Nevertheless, do ye also severely love each one his own wife as himself, and let the wife see that she fear her husband. In the DBY, but ye also, every one of you, so let each love his own wife as himself. But as to the wife, I speak that she may fear the husband. So when I had seen the fear, I had to get it, because it's supposed to be a level of fear, just like we fear doing anything that's gonna get us out of sync with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. A woman's supposed to have that same mindset. And as you can see, this is phobia.
Strong's G, 5399. Fabeo,
which, phobia, it can go into that too. It says to put to flight by terrifying, to scare away. But I'm going to just get straight to the point. Under B, number 3, it says to fear, an example, hesitate to do something for fear of harm. And that's how we are. That's how we all are, should be fearing or reverence Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. We don't want to do anything that would make the Lord want to bring harm to us because we out of pocket, Or we don't want to do anything because this is a healthy fear. We don't want to do anything that's going to get us out of sync with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, make him, not protect us. So a woman should have that same fear and reverence and a healthy fear, meaning she don't want to do anything that's going to cause that man not to be her man anymore, you know? Because like the scripture said, where there is no hedge, the possession is spoiled. So like here, phobios, going just into the root of, it says to be put in fear. And number 2, reverence for one's husband. Reverence for one's husband. So this is all in the scriptures. You know, it's not saying you should be afraid of him, like scared of him or nothing like that, like he finna beat you or anything like that. It's just saying that you should have enough respect for this man that you doing anything disrespectful or getting out of pocket with him should make you afraid, because this man is, you see him as your salvation, your protection. And if you don't have him, then you don't, if you lose him, you're not going to get another opportunity, you know, to have that. So that's how it should be, and that's how it's supposed to be. And Lord will, this is an edifying lesson. So on that note, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakak Radash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. And until next time, shalom.